The mansion gates opened slowly, revealing a world frozen in 1950s glory. Muhammad Ali stepped out of the black Cadillac and stared at Graceland's white columns, knowing the king of rock and roll was waiting inside. What Ali didn't know was that Elvis Presley was dying inside those walls, and what happened in the next 2 hours would change both legends forever. But they had no idea they were about to face their deepest fears together. Before we dive into this incredible story of two icons confronting their demons, let me know in the comments where you're watching from today. If you believe in treating every person with dignity and respect, regardless of their struggles, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that prove greatness isn't about never falling. It's about how you rise. Now let's get into what really happened when Muhammad Ali walked into Graceland in 1973 and changed everything. It was a humid August evening in Memphis when Muhammad Ali's car pulled up to the most famous address in music history. The year was 1973, and both men were fighting battles that had nothing to do with stages or rings. Ali was 31 years old, 3 years removed from his exile for refusing the Vietnam draft, struggling to reclaim the championship that had been stripped from him. His body was still powerful, his mind still sharp, but the question everyone whispered haunted him. Could he ever truly be the greatest again? Elvis Presley was 38, trapped in a gilded cage of his own making. The revolutionary, who had changed music forever, was now performing the same Vegas shows night after night. His marriage crumbling, his health deteriorating, his relevance fading. The jumpsuit-wearing caricature on stage bore little resemblance to the dangerous young rebel who had once terrified parents across America. The meeting had been arranged by Jerry Schilling, one of Elvis's closest confidants and a genuine fight fan who believed these two giants needed each other, even if neither knew it yet. Ali had been in Memphis for a training session, and Schilling had mentioned it to Elvis during one of the king's rare lucid moments. "Get him here," Elvis had said, his voice carrying that familiar drawl, but missing the energy that once electrified millions. "I want to meet the man who gave up everything for what he believed." Now, as Ali walked through the front door of Graceland, he entered a time capsule. The decor screamed 1950s. Excess shag carpeting, gaudy furniture, a television built into the wall playing 3 channels simultaneously. It was the home of someone desperately clinging to a moment that had passed years ago. Elvis stood at the bottom of his famous staircase, wearing a silk robe and sunglasses. Despite being indoors at dusk, his face was puffy, his movements slower than Ali remembered from the movies. But there was still something in his posture, some remnant of the charisma that had made him a king. "Muhammad Ali," Elvis said, extending his hand. His grip was weak, uncertain. "The greatest. That's what you call yourself, right?" There was something in his tone, not quite mockery, but not quite respect either. It was the voice of someone testing, probing, trying to figure out if this person was real or just another performer playing a role. "That's what I am," Ali replied, his voice carrying that rhythmic confidence. But his eyes were studying Elvis carefully, seeing past the sunglasses and the silk robe to the man underneath. "And you're the king, but you don't look much like a king right now, if you don't mind me saying." The room went silent. Jerry Schilling, standing near the doorway, held his breath. Nobody talked to Elvis like that. Nobody challenged him in his own home. But then something unexpected happened. Elvis laughed. Not the polite chuckle he gave reporters, or the fake laugh he performed on stage. This was real, genuine, the sound of someone hearing truth after years of carefully constructed lies. "You got that right," Elvis said, removing his sunglasses to reveal bloodshot eyes that had seen too many pills and too many sleepless nights. "Come on, let's talk. Really talk. Not the bullshit everybody else gives me." They moved to Elvis's private den, a smaller room away from the spectacle of the main house. The walls were covered with gold records and photographs of Elvis with presidents and movie stars, monuments to a past that grew more distant every day. But what happened next? Nobody expected. Elvis poured 2 glasses of water, his hands shaking slightly, and sat down across from Ali. So tell me, Mohammed, what's it like to lose everything and have to claw your way back? The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. This wasn't small talk. This was one drowning man asking another how to swim. Ali leaned back, his expression softening. You think you've lost everything, Elvis? I know I have, Elvis replied, his voice cracking slightly. Look at me. I'm doing the same show every night in Vegas. Same songs, same moves, same jumpsuit in a different color. My wife left me. My so-called friends only stick around for the money. And every morning, I wake up and can't remember who I am anymore. I see the kid in those old photos on the wall, and it's like looking at a stranger. Ali was quiet for a moment, studying the broken king before him. Then he spoke, his voice carrying that poetic quality that had made him famous beyond boxing. You know what they called me when I changed my name? When I refused to go to Vietnam? They called me a traitor. They stripped my title. They banned me from boxing. 3.5 years, Elvis. 3.5 years of my prime. Gone. No income. No platform. Just hate mail and death threats. You think you lost everything? I lost everything when I still had everything to give. Elvis looked up, something flickering in his eyes. Connection. Recognition. The understanding that passes between people who've stood at the edge and looked down. But here's what you need to understand, Ali continued, leaning forward. I didn't lose who I was. They took away my championship, but they couldn't take away my conviction. They silenced my voice in the ring, but they couldn't silence my voice in the world. You say you can't remember who you are? That's because you stopped being who you were and started being who they wanted you to be. The words hit Elvis like a physical blow. His hands gripped the arms of his chair, his breathing becoming heavier. It wasn't supposed to be like this. When I started, all I wanted was to make music that made people feel something, to break down the walls between black and white music, to be real. But then came the movies, and the contracts, and the colonel telling me what to sing, and where to perform, and who to be. And I stopped fighting. I let them turn me into a product. That's the difference between you and me, Ali said, his voice gentle but firm. When they tried to turn me into a product, I broke the machine. Cost me everything. But I'm still Muhammad Ali, still the greatest, still me. You let the machine win. And now you're trapped inside it, wondering where Elvis Presley went. Tears were streaming down Elvis's face. Now, his carefully constructed persona crumbling away. I don't know how to get out. I don't know how to be him again. The kid who scared people because he was real. The rebel who didn't care what anybody thought. Ali stood up and walked over to where Elvis sat, placing a hand on his shoulder. You start by being honest with yourself, with the people around you, with your fans. Stop pretending everything's fine. Stop doing the shows that make you die a little inside every night. Fire the people who only care about keeping the money machine running, and find one thing, just one thing, that makes you feel like that rebel again. Elvis looked up at Ali, vulnerability written across his face. What if it's too late? What if I've been this fake version for so long that there's nothing real left? It's never too late, Ali replied. I'm 31 years old, fighting my way back, after 3.5 years away. Every expert said I'd never be champion again. Every doctor said my skills were gone. Every critic said I was washed up, finished, a relic, clinging to past glory. You know what I said to them? Elvis shook his head. I told them I'd prove them all wrong, and I will, because being great isn't about never falling down, Elvis. It's about getting back up. It's about finding yourself again after the world tried to bury who you really are. You want to be the king again? Then stop acting like a king and start fighting like a rebel. The two men sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of their shared struggle hanging in the air. Then Elvis spoke again, his voice stronger now. Tell me about Vietnam, about the decision. They offered you everything if you'd just go quietly. Why didn't you take it? Ollie's expression grew serious. Because some things are worth more than everything. My faith told me war was wrong. My conscience told me I couldn't kill people who'd done nothing to me. And my identity as a black man told me I couldn't fight for a country that didn't treat my people like human beings. They offered me wealth, fame, freedom. All I had to do was compromise who I was. But if I'd done that, I wouldn't be Muhammad Ali anymore. I'd just be another person who sold their soul for convenience. That's what I did, Elvis whispered. Sold my soul. Not all at once, but piece by piece. One movie contract, one Vegas show, one decision to keep quiet and keep the money flowing. And now I wake up every morning in this mansion, surrounded by gold records, and I feel empty, completely empty. Then fill yourself back up, Ali said. Start saying no. Start making choices that scare you. Start being the person you were before the world told you who to be. It won't be easy. People will be angry. Money will be lost. Comfort will disappear. But you'll be Elvis Presley again. And that's worth more than all the gold records in this house. Elvis stood up, pacing the room now, energy returning to his movements. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Easier to keep pretending, keep performing, keep dying slowly inside the jumpsuit. But if you want to really live again, if you want to matter again, you have to fight for yourself the way you used to fight for your music. The king turned to face the greatest. And for a moment, they weren't legends or icons or myths. They were just two men who understood what it meant to lose yourself and have to claw your way back to the surface. How do you keep your confidence? Elvis asked. Even when everybody's against you, even when they strip everything away, you still call yourself the greatest. How? Ali smiled. Because I know who I am. Not who the media says I am. Not who the government says I am. Not who the critics say I am. I know who Muhammad Ali is, deep down, where nobody can touch it. And as long as I know that, nobody can take it away. You lost your confidence because you forgot who Elvis Presley really is. Find him again, and nobody will be able to shake you. They talked for another hour, two icons stripping away their public personas and revealing the scared, uncertain human beings underneath. Ali told Elvis about the nightmares he had about being forgotten, about never being champion again, about his legacy being nothing more than a footnote about a boxer who let pride ruin his career. Elvis told Ali about the pills he took to sleep and the pills he took to wake up, about the performances that felt like dying, about the desperate need to matter again, the way he'd mattered when he was young. As the evening grew late and Ali prepared to leave, Elvis walked him to the door. The king looked different now, still puffy, still tired, but something had shifted in his eyes. A spark of the old fire, the dangerous rebel who had once terrified and thrilled America. Muhammad, Elvis said, gripping Ali's hand with genuine strength this time. Thank you for being honest, for not treating me like some fragile thing that needs to be protected from the truth, for showing me that it's possible to fight your way back. You've got to want it, Elvis. Really want it. Not the comfortable lie, the hard truth, the real version of yourself, even if it costs everything. Elvis nodded. I'm tired of being comfortable. I'm ready to be real again. As Ali's Cadillac pulled away from Graceland, Jerry Schilling stood with Elvis on the front steps. That was intense, Jerry said quietly. I've never seen you like that with anyone." Elvis was quiet for a moment, watching the taillights disappear down the driveway. He reminded me of something I'd forgotten, what it means to stand for something, to be willing to lose everything, rather than compromise who you are. I used to be that person, Jerry. Before the Colonel, before Hollywood, before all of this, I used to scare people because I was real, dangerous, alive. You can be that person again, Jerry said. Maybe, Elvis replied, but it means burning down everything I've built, and I don't know if I'm brave enough for that. The truth was, Elvis Presley never fully became that rebel again. The machine was too powerful, the comfort too seductive, the fear too strong. He would continue performing in Vegas, continue the pills, continue the slow decline that would end 4 years later in a bathroom at Graceland. But something changed after that night with Muhammad Ali. In some performances, in some interviews, in some quiet moments, the real Elvis would break through, the rebel who had changed everything, reminding the world who he really was before the world forgot completely. Muhammad Ali, meanwhile, would prove every critic wrong. He would become heavyweight champion again, defeating George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, creating one of the most iconic moments in sports history. He would show the world that being great isn't about never falling, it's about how you rise. Years later, after Elvis's death, Ali would tell the story of their encounter to a small group of friends. "I tried to save him," Ali said quietly, his voice heavy with regret. "I told him how to find himself again. But you can't save someone who won't save themselves." Elvis knew what he needed to do. He just couldn't do it. And that's the saddest thing I've ever seen, watching a king forget how to fight. But that night in 1973, as Ali drove away from Graceland, he carried with him a renewed understanding of his own struggle. Seeing Elvis trapped in his golden cage reminded Ali why his own exile had been worth it, why standing for his principles had mattered, why being Muhammad Ali, no matter the cost, was the only path forward. Because that's what greatness requires. Not the comfort of compromise, but the courage of conviction. Not the safety of silence, but the danger of speaking truth. Not the easy path of becoming what others want you to be, but the hard fight of remaining who you truly are. Two kings met in Memphis that night. One had forgotten how to fight. The other never would.